He opened the trunk of a millionaire's car and found a photo of his missing mother. For 20 years she had vanished without a trace. No letters, no answers, just silence. But now, a single photograph hidden among the papers pulls a young mechanic into a world of family secrets, betrayal, and a truth buried behind stone walls. What happened to her? And why was her picture in the Rothmere estate's private vehicle? He thought he came to fix an engine, but he's about to uncover the past no one wanted him to find. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. The sun dipped low over the small town of Oak Ridge, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. Jaron Malik wiped the sweat from his forehead and leaned against the open hood of an old sedan. It was the last job of the day. His garage, Malik Auto Repair, stood quiet on the edge of town, where fields stretched wide and the sound of passing cars was rare. Jaron was 28, tall and lean with strong hands marked by years of work. He had opened the garage with savings from side jobs and late-night repairs. It wasn't fancy, but it was his. He glanced at the clock on the wall. Almost 6. Time to close up. He was just turning off the lights when his phone buzzed. Malik, Otto, he answered, tucking the phone between his ear and shoulder. Good evening, said a smooth voice. My name is Halden. I manage the Rothmere estate. We were told you handle high-end vehicles. Jaron blinked. The Rothmere estate was legendary in Oak Ridge. Old money, long shadows. He had never been close to it. Yes, I do, he said, keeping his voice steady. Excellent. Mr. Rothmere's maroon sedan has developed a fault. He needs it ready by tomorrow evening. Would you be available for an early house call? Yes, sir. I can be there at 8, Jaron replied. After the call ended, Jaron stood still for a moment. The Rothmeres? In all his years, he'd never thought he'd step on their property. That evening, Jaron sat at the kitchen table helping his younger sister, Naira, with a scholarship essay. She was 17, smart and full of questions. You're quiet tonight, she said, tapping her pen. Another long day? Got a job at the Rothmere place tomorrow, he said casually. Naira's eyes lit up. You mean the Rothmeres? Maybe you'll meet Lisette. She's back from France. Jaron rolled his eyes. I'm going to fix a car, not meet anyone famous. But later that night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, he couldn't stop thinking about the call. Something about it felt strange, like the start of something big. The next morning he arrived at the estate just before 8. The gate, tall and black with iron vines, swung open without a word. The driveway was long and curved, lined with thick trees that whispered in the breeze. A man in a dark suit met him by the garage. I'm Halden, he said. The vehicle is inside. Keys are in the ignition. Mr. Rothmere is away, but he expects the car ready by tomorrow. The garage was bigger than Jaron's whole shop. 5 cars sat inside, all gleaming like polished mirrors. In the center was the maroon sedan. No pressure, Jaron muttered to himself. He started with a quick diagnostic. The fuel injection system had failed. Nothing major, but it would take time. Jaron worked carefully, losing himself in the comfort of routine. The engine hummed as he tested it. He smiled. Another job well done. He went out to the truck for a part he had forgotten. As he opened his toolbox, a sudden gust of wind swept through the driveway. Loose papers fluttered from the passenger seat of the sedan. Documents he had set aside after checking the glove box. Great, he sighed, chasing after them. He gathered each page one by one. Insurance forms, receipts, old notes, but then under a fallen page he saw it. A photograph. Jaron stopped breathing. In the photo stood a woman with kind eyes, a soft smile, and dark hair pulled back behind her ears. She wore a simple uniform, like a housekeeper's. She was standing in front of the Rothmere mansion. Jaron dropped to his knees. It was her, his mother, the woman who had disappeared without a trace when he was just 7. The photograph was worn at the edges, slightly faded, but it was unmistakable. He had memorized that face. He had searched for it in crowds, in memories, in dreams. His fingers trembled as he held the picture close. She had been here, not just in Oak Ridge, not just in the past. She had stood in this place, worked for this family. What had they done to her? Jaren's heart pounded so loudly he could hear nothing else. The sound of footsteps snapped him back. Halden was walking toward the garage. Quickly, Jaren slipped the photo into his pocket and stood up, wiping his hands with a rag. "Everything all right?" Halden asked. "Yes," Jaren replied, his voice even. "Just finishing up." But inside, his world was unraveling. He had always believed his mother had left, that she couldn't handle raising 2 children alone after their father's death, that she had run from it all. But now, this photograph changed everything. He drove home in silence. At the kitchen table, he laid the photo under the lamp and stared at it for hours. "What happened to you?" he whispered. "Why didn't you come back? And more importantly, why did the Rothmers have your photo?" That night, Jaren made a quiet decision. He would return to the estate the next day, not as a mechanic, but as a son looking for answers. He didn't know what he would find, but he knew one thing for certain. His mother had been here, and the truth had waited long enough. The next morning, Jaren stood in front of his bathroom mirror trying to look calm, but nothing felt normal anymore. Not after the photo. His hands were steady, but his chest was tight. The woman in that picture, the woman standing in front of the Rothmer house, was his mother. Her smile haunted him all night. Nara noticed his quiet mood over breakfast. "You okay?" she asked, pouring tea into 2 chipped mugs. "Just tired," he lied. He hadn't told her. Not yet. He needed more answers first. If he told her too soon, it would only bring more questions. He didn't want to give her hope unless he had something solid. "Do you have another job today?" she asked. "Same car," he replied. "Something else I want to double check." "Fancy place," she said, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," he muttered, pushing toast around his plate. "Fancy." At 9, Jaren pulled into the Rothmer estate again. The same iron gate opened without a word. The driveway, the trees, the mansion, it all looked the same, but this time it felt different. He wasn't here to fix anything. He was here to find out the truth. Halden greeted him again at the garage. "You left something?" Halden asked. Surprised. "Just doing a full system check," Jaren said. "Want to make sure it's perfect." Halden nodded, then walked away. Alone again, Jaren opened the hood, making a show of checking wires and sensors. He wasn't here for the engine. He needed to talk to someone. Someone who had been here a long time. Someone who might have known. His mother. He spotted a man trimming hedges along the side garden. The man moved slowly with careful hands, and his back was bent from age. Jaren walked over, wiping his hands on a rag. "Excuse me," he said. The gardener looked up, squinting under the sun. "Yes?" "Beautiful roses," Jaren said, looking around. "Been working on them for 25 years, the man replied. "Name's Thomas." "I'm Jaren," he said. "Working on the Rothmer sedan." Thomas nodded but didn't smile. "You must have seen a lot of people come and go," Jaren continued. "Some stay longer than others." "Do you remember a woman named Layla?" Jaren asked softly, pulling out the photograph from his pocket. "She worked here, maybe 20 years ago." Thomas looked at the picture. His face changed, just for a second, then he shook his head. "Sorry," he said. "Don't recognize her," but his eyes said otherwise. "Please," Jaren said, lowering his voice. "She's my mother. She disappeared when I was 7. This photo, it was in that car. She was here. I just want to know what happened." Tomas sighed, glancing around the garden. "Not here," he said. "Too many ears. Meet me tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Clover Cafe, Main Street." Before Jaren could say thank you, Thomas turned back to his roses. Jaren slipped the photo into his pocket and walked away. He spent the rest of the day pretending to work. Lisette Rothmer passed by once walking her dog. She didn't speak, just gave a polite nod. Jaren nodded back, trying to stay unnoticed, but his mind wasn't on the car. It was on the photograph, on Thomas, on the missing years. That night, back At home, Naira was sitting at the table flipping through a pile of papers. I need my birth certificate, she said. For the scholarship stuff, I checked the drawer, but it's not there. Did you try the box in the closet? Jaren asked. Aunt Renice's old file box? He nodded. Yeah, she said. I looked through it. It's full of old letters. And papers. I think some of it belonged to Mom. Jaren's head snapped up. What kind of letters? I didn't read all of them. Just glanced. Some were addressed to her. Others from people. One envelope had the Rothmere seal, I think. His heart pounded. Did you keep any of them? No, she said slowly. Aunt Renice came home while I was looking. She saw me with them, got really upset, grabbed the box and told me not to go through it again. She got upset? Jaren asked, frowning. Yeah, like angry. Jaren stared at the floor, the box, the photo, the estate. Everything was pointing to something bigger. Their aunt had raised them after their mom disappeared. She'd helped pay bills, kept food on the table. But she never talked about their mother. Never wanted to. Naira, he said, voice quiet. I need to tell you something. And he did. About the photo, the car, the estate. Her eyes widened. She didn't speak for a long time. You really think she worked there? She finally asked. I know she did, he said. Now I need to find out why she never came back. And you think Thomas will tell you? I hope so. Naira stood and walked to the window. The moonlight glowed on her face. What if we find something we don't want to know? Then at least we'll stop guessing, Jaren said. She nodded slowly. I want to come with you. To the cafe? Yes. He looked at her. Strong, smart, brave. Okay, he said. And as they stood together in the quiet of their small kitchen, Jaren felt something he hadn't in a long time. Hope. The small bell above the cafe door jingled as Jaren and Naira stepped into Clover Cafe. The smell of fresh bread and coffee filled the air. They took a table near the back window where they could see the street. You think he'll show? Naira asked, wrapping her hands around a warm mug. I think he knows more than he let on, Jaren said, and I think he wants to talk. At exactly 10 o'clock, the door opened again. Thomas walked in, wearing the same faded jacket and cap from the garden. He looked around and spotted them. With a nod, he made his way over and sat down slowly. Thank you for coming, Jaren said. Thomas looked tired, but his eyes were clear. I remember your mother, he said softly. Layla, quiet, kind, worked hard. She started here just after her husband died. Needed the job to take care of you and your sister. Jaren's throat tightened. Hearing her name spoken by someone who knew her felt like touching a ghost. She worked for Mr. Rothmere? Yes, mostly in the house. Cleaning, laundry, sometimes bookkeeping. Naira leaned forward. What happened to her? Thomas glanced around. No one was near. One night she was crying. Said she'd found something, papers she wasn't supposed to see. She was scared. The next day she was gone. Papers? Jaren asked. What kind? She didn't say. But she said it was wrong. She planned to talk to someone, but that night there was yelling. I was in the greenhouse. I heard Mr. Rothmere shouting. You didn't go in? Thomas shook his head. Not my place. But the next morning her locker was still full. Her clothes, her things. She never left, like that before. Jaren felt cold all over. Why didn't anyone call the police? The Rothmeres don't like attention, Tomas said. They made it sound like she quit, moved away. But I never believed that. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He set it on the table and pushed it toward Jaren. I found this a week after she vanished, near the back garden. Jaren opened the cloth. Inside was a silver bracelet, thin and worn, with a small charm in the shape of a leaf. She wore this every day, Naira whispered. I kept it, Thomas said. Thought maybe one day her children would come asking. Thank you, Jaren said, his voice barely holding steady. I'm sorry, Thomas added. I was afraid back then. I didn't speak up. You're speaking now. Jaren said. That means something. After the cafe, Jaren called Lisette Rothmere. Her number had been printed on a job form from the garage. Miss Rothmere? He asked when she answered. Yes. Who's this? Jaren Malik, the mechanic who worked on your father's car. Is there a problem with the repair? No, but it's about something I found. Something personal. I think your family knew my mother. She worked for you years ago. Her name was Layla. Malik. There was silence on the other end. I remember that name, Lisette said finally. My father doesn't talk about her, but I saw the name once on an old staff list. She disappeared, didn't she? Yes, Jaren said, and I think she never left by choice. Meet me at the estate, she said. Tonight, 8 o'clock. Come alone. That night, Jaren returned to the estate for the third time. This time, Lisette herself met him at the side entrance. Come with me, she said, leading him through a hallway lined with paintings. They entered a dim room filled with books, leather chairs, and an old desk. This was my father's study, she said. He doesn't use it anymore. He moved his office upstairs. But this room, it holds a lot of our family's past. Jaren stepped inside carefully, feeling like he was stepping into a memory. You said you saw her name? He asked. Lisette nodded, walking to a filing cabinet in the corner. She pulled open a drawer labeled Household Staff. There used to be a file for Layla. I looked for it today. It's gone. Someone removed it, Jaren said. That's what I thought. She turned toward the bookcase. When I was a teenager, I used to sneak in here, she said. There's something you need to see. She pulled out a thick book, then pressed a panel behind it. With a click, a section of the bookshelf slid open, revealing a wall safe. My father doesn't know I found it, she said. She turned the dial and the door swung open. Inside were ledgers, documents, and a few velvet boxes. He kept records of everything, she said. Money, deals, payments. She handed one of the books to Jaren. He flipped through the pages until one line made his heart stop. Layla M. 50,000. Settlement. Another entry, dated 1 week later. Legal expenses. 25,000. Staff matter. Jaren looked up. This was right before she disappeared. I think your mother found something in this study, Lisette said quietly. Something she wasn't meant to see. And your father paid her to stay quiet? Or tried to, Lisette said. But she didn't take the money. And then she vanished. Jaren closed the book and looked around the study. This was the last place his mother had been seen. He could feel it in his bones. Jaren stood at the kitchen table, the ledger open before him. Naira sat beside him, her eyes scanning the same faded entries. The name Layla M. printed beside a large sum of money. It felt like a door had opened to the past. But they still didn't know what was behind it. So what now? Naira asked, softly. We find her, Jaren said, or at least where she went. And if we find her, she hesitated. What if she doesn't want to be found? Jaren looked at his sister. We won't know until we try. The next morning, Lisette met them at a quiet cafe away from town. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept. I talked to someone who worked for my father's lawyer years ago, she said. He mentioned something strange. After your mother disappeared, a private donation was made to a convent outside Greenville. No name attached, just a large check and a note that said, for her care. A convent? Jaren repeated. It's isolated, strict. No contact with the outside unless approved by the head sister. That's where she is, Jaren said. I can feel it. I want to come, Naira said. Me too, Lisette added. This is bigger than just your family now. They left early the next day. The drive to Greenville took 4 hours. As they got closer, the road narrowed, winding through trees and hills. The convent appeared at the end of a gravel path, tall stone walls surrounding a quiet garden and an old chapel. A nun answered the gate. Her face was calm, her hands folded. May we speak with Sister Agnes? Jaren asked. She's not available, the nun replied. Can I help you? We're looking for someone, Jaren said. Layla Malik. She might have lived here. The nun's expression didn't change. I'm sorry. We do not give out names or information. Jaren stepped closer. Please, she's our mother. The nun paused, then spoke quietly. Come back at sundown. Go to the greenhouse behind the east garden. Alone. The gate closed. They returned at sunset. The convent was quiet. Golden light spilling over the rooftops. Jaren walked carefully around the wall, finding the greenhouse nestled in the trees. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of flowers and soil. Rows of herbs grew in pots along wooden shelves. A woman stood with her back to him, watering a small plant. Excuse me, Jaren said softly. The woman froze. Slowly, she turned around. Jaren's breath caught. Her face was older, her hair streaked with gray, but her eyes, gentle and deep, hadn't changed. Mom, he whispered. She dropped the watering can. Jaren, she said, her voice breaking. My baby boy. He rushed forward, arms around her before he could stop himself. She held him tightly, her hands shaking. How did you find me? She asked. The photo, the car, the ledger. We followed everything. Naira stepped into the doorway, tears already falling. Layla pulled her in and held them both. I wanted to come back, she whispered. But they said if I tried, something would happen to you. I believed them. Who? Jaren asked. Before she could answer, the door opened again. Renee stepped inside, her expression calm but cold. So, the little detective found you. Jaren stood in front of his mother and sister. You knew all along. Of course I did, Renee said. I kept her safe. Away from trouble, away from mistakes. You kept her hidden for 20 years, Jaren said. You lied to us. I protected you, Renee said sharply. Your mother got involved in something she shouldn't have. She was going to ruin everything. I made sure you had a home, food, school, and now you bring her back like she's some kind of hero. She is our hero, Naira said. You just didn't want to lose control. Renee's eyes darkened. You think the world is fair? That you get to walk in and take what's yours? The trust fund, the house. I managed all of it while she sat here growing plants. You stole from us, Jaren said. But it's over now. You think anyone will believe you? She asked. I made sure there's no trail. Then explain this, Lisette said, stepping in. She held up a small recorder. I heard everything. So did the nun at the door. Renee's mouth opened, then closed. You'll never prove anything, she hissed. We don't need to, Jaren said. We have Mom, and we have the truth. Renee turned and stormed out, her heels clicking hard against the stone path. Layla leaned against the wall, eyes filled with tears. I thought I'd lost you both forever. Never, Jaren said. We came back for you, and we're taking you home. That night, the four of them sat in a small hotel room. No police, no shouting, just quiet warmth. Layla held her children's hands as they told her about their lives. Jaren's garage, Naira's dreams, the birthdays she missed, the holidays, the hard days, and the bright ones. We still need to fight, Lisette said. For your mother's rights. For the truth. We will, Jaren said, but tonight we rest. Layla smiled, tears falling softly. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. Not even once. The window was open. Outside, a breeze carried the sound of leaves rustling in the trees. For the first time in years, they felt whole. And somewhere deep inside, Layla Malik finally felt free.